Hello.
Good morning, Ian. How we doing?
Doing great.
Great. Wow.
Great.
We don't get a great very often.
No.
What's so great?
Nothing in particular. No, just things are going well. Gallbladder's gallbladdering. Kids are good. Wife is good. All
Good
the
to be
things.
Ian.
It's good to be me right now.
Well, just as a exercise in contrasts, all of my kids have thrown up in the past 24 hours. All four. So
Oh boy.
not as great over
Yikes.
here on
How
this
the heck did you
side.
manage that?
Oh man, I don't know. It hasn't hit me yet, knock on wood, but I'm afraid it's gonna get me.
Oh, it's
It
gonna
always
get you.
gets it always
Yeah.
gets you.
The
Yeah, I
baby's
was
throwing up, boy.
oh dude.
Oh.
I was driving around the babies yesterday
Yeah.
because it was like we got to separate these kids. We got to get somebody out of here.
Divide and conquer.
Jennifer was feeling nauseous. It's just like, all right, I'm taking the little kids. We're gonna go for a drive. And I heard "Ugh," from the back, and I
Oh
turned
no.
around, and my youngest daughter had just vomited all over herself in the car. And I was like,
Oh
oh, and you
boy.
know that I am very sensitive to that sort of thing,
Right.
and so I'm back there. I've got my shirt over my nose. I'm like trying to wipe her off without literally vomiting myself. Like I'm wiping her off, and then I step outside and dry heave a little bit, and then I come and wipe her off again. Just like absolute worst thing in the world. So
Oh.
I'm glad you're happy. That's awesome for you.
They've been sick, or you thought they were in the clear still, and like had they already thrown up, or was this the first throw up of the younger
I
ones?
think this was the first. I thought we were out of the woods. I think the
Oh,
littlest
okay.
boy threw up a few days ago, or maybe 2 or 3 days ago. And I thought, okay, everybody else is kind of just feeling sick. And then she threw up. And then last night, overnight, the older two kids threw up. It's just like, God dang it.
And car throw up. That is like
Oh, oh,
that's bad.
that's
That's bad.
bad.
Remember
Bad.
once I got a car throw up story.
I don't know.
College.
Uh,
Okay.
okay.
My best friend, and we're out, and his girlfriend was really drunk, and we're like, all right, we're taking her home, and I knew this was gonna end poorly. I was like, okay, she's in my front seat. She's like, I'm gonna throw up. I'm like, go out the window or open the door. I'm like trying to pull over in time. She
Gross.
just throws up on the door panel and down into the side, like under the seat and all that. You know what I mean? So that I made. Oh man, Aaron's losing it right here. If you can't see this, it's worth
Yeah, you
watching.
can't.
But
We gotta stop. I will actually throw
yeah.
up.
So he was like, the best part of the story is my best friend. He's like, all right, let's clean it up tomorrow. And I was like, dude, we're not cleaning up
No.
tomorrow.
What?
I was like, we're going to the car wash right this second, and you are going to clean this stuff out of from under my seat. Like, we're not leaving it till the next day to
Let's
ferment.
clean it up tomorrow is maybe the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
It's terrible advice. Don't clean it up tomorrow.
Terrible.
Oh man.
Ugh.
I love a good
All right,
car
we
puke.
gotta switch subjects before we lose any remaining listeners.
So your
Good
family, though,
Lord.
everybody's fine. They're rebounding, and
They're
you're gonna get
rebounding.
sick soon, but you'll work it out.
Yeah, I'm gonna get super sick. Good news is we found a nanny. Finally. So
All right,
we
you're
had
back in the game.
we're back in the game, and she starts today. Good luck. Have fun. Yeah.
Just handing her 4 sick kids.
Exactly,
Like, okay,
yeah.
here you go.
We found somebody that is just amazing. So our au pair went back to Germany a few weeks ago, and we had since then we hired 2 nannies, and they both backed out.
Crazy.
One backed out like 3 or 4 weeks before she was supposed to start, and one backed out like 2 days before she was supposed to start.
Wow.
And I think part of the problem was we were selecting for flaky people by being like, hey, we want 20 hours a week.
Yeah.
And so these people were like,
That's
great,
just a
I'm going to fill
babysitter.
in. Yeah, I'll fill in my time elsewhere. And then the first one was like, hey, I found a better fit, which I think means full time.
Sure.
And then the second one said, hey, I was on a leave of absence from work, but now they're requiring I come back. I'm like,
why are you taking this job then?
what were you thinking? So this person that we got is incredible and is working more than 20 hours a week. So we upped our criteria to keep to get better candidates, and we got one.
Riff out.
Yeah.
Yeah, we never had a full-time nanny type situation, but we did do a bunch of babysitters, and then like they're always flaking out. We had to have a stable of them, right? You can't just have like one because they're
It's
never that
crazy.
reliable. So we'd have like 3 or 4 in rotation, and yeah. So let's business dad this a little bit
Okay.
because you made a hire. So how did you go about hiring? Maybe I don't know what's the pay setup? Is it hourly? Give us a little of the business flavor.
That's a good question. So we went about hiring via Facebook groups.
Okay.
So instead of, there are websites like care.com.
Care.com. Yep, I've used that.
I think I would always, especially for, taking care of our children, I would always prefer some sort of connection to somebody that we know. And so we started with Facebook groups for like, Lake Highlands babysitters group, or like Preston Hollow Moms Club or something like that. So just towns that are nearby us where all the moms hang out. And so we did that, and we found some pretty good candidates through that. But what ended up being where we found this one is my wife's sister knows somebody is a grandma at our church. Me and we go to the same church as Jennifer's sister and brother-in-law. And so this grandma goes to the church that we go to. And she said, my granddaughter just moved from wherever to Dallas, and she wants to be a full-time nanny. Does anybody know anyone? And so Jennifer's sister told us that she met this grandma, and we're like, great. She goes to East Side where we go. Let's meet this girl. And she's amazing and wants to like spend her career doing childcare. And it's like, perfect. That is exactly what we want. And so then the question becomes, do you want full time? And her answer is yes, of course. Like, I'm trying to make a career out of this. Like, I want this to be my livelihood, not just like some fun thing I do. So yeah, lots of as if the weight of the world could not grow heavier, we now have a full-time employee.
You got a full-timer. You kind of have to, because otherwise if you do part-time, half-time, she's going to have another half-time somewhere else.
Correct.
And that's the pull of that half-time is always going to be to, if they could just flip the switch and then you're done, then you're out, obviously. You're the one who's auto out if that ever changes.
Or it's like, hey, can you stay an hour late because the kids are sick, for example? And she's like, no, I got to get to my other job.
Right. Yeah.
But with this setup, she's very flexible because we are her only source of income. And so it's like, great.
You love another mouth to feed.
Oh, I just got rid of one German and now I'm adopting another American. Like, what's going on over here? But good news, great news. My Forerunner, we're selling it, which is sad for me because my Forerunner's awesome. But I am taking what was the au pair's car, and before that was Jennifer's car. So when we had another set of twins, we bought the minivan and then kept Jennifer's VW for the au pair. So now my Forerunner is gone, which is sad because it was totally awesome. But that's good. That's money in the bank. We're getting that back.
Oh, hold on. So what kind of VW is this? Like a Jetta or like a
Atlas?
An Atlas. Oh, that's like a big SUV, right? Is
yeah,
it the biggest or the medium?
It is. I think the Tiguan is the smaller version, and the Atlas is the bigger version.
All right. So the Forerunner is gone just because the Atlas is like kind of a little better if you have to carry all the kids.
Atlas has more seats. It's not quite as badass, but it has more seats, and that's the stage we're in.
I love the sacrifice stage.
Yeah.
All right. So Forerunner's gone. Money in the pocket. That's
money
good.
in the pocket. Soon, I handed it over to my brother, my oldest brother, who is a car selling savant, and he's going to sell it for me.
Nice.
So that's good. That's money in the bank. We took the au pair off of car insurance, off of the YMCA, off of the cell phone plan. That's good. That's good. That's a little bit of money in the bank there.
And you don't have to pay for these things with the new person, so they're on their own for transportation.
They're on their own. They drive their own car. They live in their own house. And then I think we're not going to send the youngest babies to any sort of like childcare now, because it was going to be, we'll hire somebody part-time, we'll put the youngest ones in school part-time, and then it kind of all evens out. But now we're not going to do that because, we don't need Jennifer and this nanny to just be sitting around, playing mahjong during the day when there are no kids there. So, So we're gonna make it work. And on an unrelated note,
Mm.
please sponsor the show. Just and maybe prices have gone up. I can't say for sure, but
Hey, why not? Why not? Another reason to raise prices. We should actually put that on the sponsors page, like sponsor, like your nanny could like wear like a tag, like a poker player on TV or something,
Yes,
like a little
totally.
bento tag on there, just around the house, shopping. I like
Yep,
this
I
idea.
like that. So how are we going to pay her? That's still an open question. I don't know if we're going to do the full like household employee schedule or just pay her straight. I don't really know. We might have to like actually set up Gusto payroll for our household, which
Yikes.
is insane.
I think there is some
I don't feel
mechanism where
great
you don't have
about
to
that.
go quite that far. There is something, I forget how it all works, where you can,
Yeah.
there's some kind of household thing or something. Like otherwise you have to like, yeah, I don't know. But she's got, I guess, I mean, so I want to talk about it's not a podcast, but there's also like, is it under the table? Is it above
No,
board?
we would never do anything
Of
that
course.
is illegal and then say it out loud on the show. Definitely not.
Definitely not that series of events.
No.
Right.
Of course not.
Okay, so I think we got a picture here. So she's starting today, you said, right? So
Starting today.
she's home.
She's
or
there
what time
right
is she
now.
gonna- All right.
Yep.
Nice. Well, good luck with that. That sounds like it's all worked out for the best. I feel like
I think so.
those other two were clearly unreliable. So you're through
weren't
that.
gonna be helpful. Yeah.
You've already had two bad hires out of the way. Third one's a charm. Yeah, I think
That's
we're good.
the idea. Yeah.
Nice. So you're going away this week. So you're gonna be
I'm
sick
going away.
and you're going away.
If I retain all of my bodily fluids, I'm going away. If they start coming out, I'm staying home 100%. I'm not getting on an airplane to Miami to go throw up in Miami.
So there is just nothing worse than being sick when you're away from home. Like that is top tier, just suffering. Just like you're in a hotel room sick, especially with the excreting bodily fluids type of sickness. It's just like that is just, it's brutal. Hate it.
It's brutal. So the slightest inkling of sickness, I'm staying home.
You're out. Yeah.
I cannot risk. But yes. God willing, I will travel to Miami on Wednesday for React Miami, which is a surprise to us all. I'm going to Dax's house. Going to Dax's house. From the arms of one no man into the arms of another no man. I am going to Dax's house.
Man, I want to be at Dax's house.
I know. Well, you should have gone. So
I should have gone. Yeah, you weren't going. This is new, right? I just saw you tweet about this. I'm like, what's he doing?
Nah, you just, I just haven't told you yet. So I don't tell you everything, Ian, because sometimes you're gonna say, what are you doing that for? And I'm like, I don't need to tell him this one. So now it's too late.
Going to Dax's house.
Now it's too late. I'm telling you. Yeah, so I was on a podcast a little while back called Whiskey Web and Whatnot. And, just doing the podcast thing, hanging out, having fun, being a man of the people. Mm-hmm. And after the show was over, they were like, oh man, one of the co-hosts of this show can't go to React Miami anymore because he and his wife are having twins. And I'm like, oh, that's, great. Exciting.
You know about that?
Yeah. And I said, well, if you want me to come as your co-host, let me know. And he's like, really? Like, sure, why not? Boom. And so I'm going as a podcast co-host for a podcast I'm not on. And they're paying for my flight and my hotel, and I got a free ticket to React Miami. So gonna go hold down the podcast booth and I don't know, yuck it up with the React people.
Now you're doing a show there, I see.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I'm co-hosting with the guy who's not having twins.
So you're just doing that for a couple hours or whatever it is, and then you're a free agent cruising, or is there other responsibilities as part of the show?
Cruising, walk around, grab some sodas, wave at some people. That's about it.
What day is that? When you going? Tomorrow?
Wednesday.
Wednesday
morning. And then unfortunately I fly back late Friday night just because weekends are tough with childcare. So better to be home and wake up at home on Saturday morning.
Be ready to go.
Yeah.
Well, that sounds good. I've been wanting to guess React Miami. It feels like, I don't know, I feel like that's a spot. React Miami, it's always a thing each year. And that's the only conference I'd say I'm sort of quasi jealous in the sense, like I want to go to that. That's one I want to go to. I hear about all the conferences. I don't want to go to any of them. I never give any of them even one second thought. I'm like, I don't care about that.
I'm a little bit scared because I think React Miami is just like, it seems like 97% party and
Right.
3% react. So, and actually, I'm scared of both of those percentages. That's too much react,
Sure.
and
Right.
that's way too much partying. Yeah, it'll be fun, but it'll have to
Yeah.
be. I'll have to have my wits about me.
Yeah, you're gonna have to be prepared for anything at all times,
I
I feel
am.
like.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. You got Prime there, I assume. You got your
Yep.
Adactus house.
Yep.
That's gonna be a scene. Yeah. I need video, I need first person reporting, I need live tweeting or
There are going
whatever.
to be a lot of Laravellians there.
I know, that's what I mean. They're
And
all there.
friend of the show, Will King, is going to be there.
Oh yeah, that's right.
He's going to be there. Yep. So
Yeah,
it should
maybe I
be
should go.
fun. It should be
Huh.
it should be a good time. I think Taylor's on a panel there.
Taylor is going, I heard, yeah, for a part of it anyway, yeah.
Some sort of open source panel. I think Joe Tannenbaum, Leah, I forget who else from the Laravel team, but I feel like a lot of them are
True.
going.
They got that conference budget now, you know. They're out there.
I know. Got to spend that Excel money getting to these conferences, man. Keep it in the family.
Yes.
That's right. Where are you going? You're going on a trip?
Yeah, I'm going to Vegas.
Vegas, baby.
Vegas. Got invited with a few Laravel people to WrestleMania. So I'm going to see a WrestleMania, which only one day. WrestleMania is 2 days. Who would have thought WrestleMania is 2 days? So
I wouldn't have thought anything about WrestleMania. I would have thought it was 3 hours. I have no idea what WrestleMania even is.
It's 2 days, and each day is like 5 hours or something insane like that. So I'm only going to one day. I inherited a ticket, and so I'm going for one of the 2 days. But I'm going to hang out. And then I got permission from the boss to tack on a few days.
I know where this is going.
So I got a couple days tacked on to the beginning. Now, if I had thought about React Miami, it could have been interesting to swing by React Miami and then go to Vegas, but whatever. Everything's booked. I'm not doing that now. But so I have a couple days of poker / maybe a little photography / maybe a little go out to the desert. I don't know, some combination of those things. I will be doing
go
beforehand.
Out to the desert.
Oh, I love the desert.
What does
man.
that mean?
I love the desert.
Why do you love the desert?
It's so great. Have you ever been just out into the desert? Just go out there.
Of course not.
Oh, it's so good.
I want to die of exposure. Biome. What do you do in the desert? There's nothing in the desert. That's the whole thing about the desert.
That's the best part. There's nothing out there. It's just like tumbleweeds and mountains, and it's great. And then you could go up. I went to Mount Charleston one year, which is the mountains outside of Vegas, and there was snow. It's like it's 100 degrees in the desert, but it's like snowing.
Sure, that's fundamentally different than a desert. Is the mountains?
Oh,
mountains
it's
are
in
cool.
the desert.
No,
the mountains are in the desert. Yes. Yeah, it's like 30 minutes outside Vegas.
No, none of this desert talk sounds interesting unless you're like, doing dune buggies or something like desert racing. That sounds super fun. But going to the desert because of the biome is not really. It's not really on my list. I'll be honest.
All the red rocks, like they're all red and purple and crazy colors. Yeah, we got to go out to the desert to see that.
Here's the only note I have on the desert. When I am fabulously wealthy, which is it's just around the corner at this point. Yep. I will buy some down on its luck land. Maybe it'll be desert, and I will terraform it back to the garden. That is the goal. That's the goal.
That sounds expensive if you do that in the desert. I don't know if you're aware of this.
I know. That's why I got to get fabulously wealthy first.
Yeah. Well, you should go to the desert. It's fantastic. I don't know. My only thing is I don't know if I'm in the mood to rent a car. Like the whole renting a car thing is just annoying. Like you gotta jump through the hoops and go get the car and blah blah.
That's a big part of renting a car is you got to go get it. That's it's like, wow, what am I doing here?
Yeah, and then you got to drive out of the strip area, whatever, blah blah. Get through the traffic. So I'm asterisking if I'm actually gonna go out to the desert this time. But I would like to go dune buggying or something like that. I've actually never done that. So maybe that'll
sounds super fun.
Yeah. I've gone to the desert and shot guns once.
Very Texan of you.
Guns. Yeah. Yeah. So that was cool. But yeah, so that's my thing. It's React Miami. If I knew you were going to be there, I definitely would have swung by.
Sorry. Maybe next year.
Is this podcast booth, are you going to be publicly on display? Or
I think so.
Oh, man.
No, I think it's like part of the show. I think we are set up. We are officially set up as part of the React Miami agenda to have a podcast booth outside the little thing.
When are you recording? Wednesday or Thursday?
Thursday, I think. I think it all starts on Thursday.
A little harder. Man, I kind of want to swing by.
Dax's house is on Wednesday, so think about it. Mm-hmm.
Man, I just switched all this too. See, if I had known this, I could have switched to go to Miami first.
Do you want to be a yes man?
Ah, I'm gonna have to think about this. It's probably not gonna happen, but I'm gonna actually give it some thought and see if there's some
Okay,
way I
we'll
can make it
see.
happen. That would be awesome. Swing by Dax's house. That's all I need. I don't like flying this way. I don't like being anywhere for like one day. Find it very annoying.
It is
Even
annoying.
like going to Vegas, since it's so far, that was part of my pitch to the boss, and she knows I feel this way. Is that like I really truly hate traveling far and only being there like 3 nights or whatever. Like
You've
it
been
makes me
building up this
insane.
lore your entire
No.
marriage just so you can spend more time in Vegas.
It's true.
Well,
but
babe,
both are
my
true.
thing, that thing I have about not wanting to be
I
somewhere for a
do
short
have a
time.
thing.
Yeah,
It's true though.
you're familiar with this. I've been saying it for years.
I have been saying it for years. Because you get there, you're exhausted.
Well,
The
you
first
don't
day is
have to
just a total
convince
wreck,
me.
right?
Yeah, I'm not in charge.
Everybody out there knows. But you do what you gotta do. I don't know. I gotta think about this. Man, can I change everything
I
again?
thought that was going somewhere.
No, I'm just like so distraught now because
You
like, I want
said
to
you
go
do
to
what you got to
Miami.
do, and then that was it. It didn't go anywhere
Yeah,
else.
that's it. That's it. I mean, that's just a statement of fact. You just gotta do what you gotta do.
Oh, that's amazing.
Man, all right. So we're gonna play some poker. There's gonna be 4-card poker, 2-card poker. I will report back how the poker goes. I will
Please
live
do.
update the poker.
Keep your
on the
logbook so
internet.
we can know how you did.
I'm gonna do some photography. I'm into the photography, but I've never really brought my proper gear and like photographed Vegas properly. So that's going to be also part of this trip is some serious street photography in Vegas. So we will see how that goes. Hopefully that
Well,
goes
I look forward
well.
to checking in on the photos on Blue Sky. That will be
Yes,
very,
I will
very
be
exciting to
posting.
see.
How's that go? All right, let's do some ads. Pay for the show. We got to pay for this babysitter
Gotta
nanny
pay for
person.
this nanny.
We got to do it. So your ad could be right here. Sponsor the show. We do have some new sponsors this week. Thank you to everybody. But yeah. So first off, old time friend of the show, old time original sponsor, forever I think has sponsored every month so far and is set up to sponsor months into the future.
You all should learn from this, by the way. You should all learn from this.
Oh, he gets brand advertising. Bento, our friends at Bento, the refreshingly faster email marketing platform. Manage all your marketing email. It takes care of everything. Obviously, you've heard Aaron talk about it and sing its praises many times. But just an amazing way to manage all your email newsletters, all that kind of marketing engagement. They do a great job with that. So check out Bento at bentonow.com. And WorkOS AuthKit. Laravel 12's new starter kits include WorkOS AuthKit. Future-proof your authentication stack with the identity layer trusted by OpenAI, Cursor, Perplexity, and Vercel. Check them out at workos.com, which is a good domain.
That's a good domain.
Thank you all for sponsoring. All right. What's up next here? You did a package. I don't know. It wasn't a package, but I wanted it to be a package.
No. It's just something that has an awesome name that I just tweeted out.
Awesome name. That's why I was confused at first. I was like, oh, he did a package. This is great. I love this name. And then I was like, wait a minute. I think he just built this for himself. That's not like him. Why did he just build this for himself? What about for me? This is the first thing you've built in like a year now that I want to use. You're building all this terminal stuff. You're doing all this other stuff. You built something awesome. And there's no package for this one.
Oh, amazing. It all comes back to Ian.
Yeah.
All right.
Come on.
All right. This is good. We got it. We can do a whole segment on this. All right. Here we go. Yeah. So I built a thing for Laravel, for us, for me and Steve to use.
Yes.
And it's called Dead Drop, which is just like
this is
so
an Otwell level name. This is like an Otwell level name.
Cold War coded, spy coded. It's just like, it's so awesome.
So good. Fantastic.
The idea of Dead Drop is, in real life, in spy culture, I'm super deep in spy culture. Yeah, so let me just look up real fast what Dead Drop actually means, because I'm so deep into spy culture that I can just say it off the top of my head. Here we go.
One person drops something, the other person picks it up.
Something that I know definitely is a dead drop is a method of espionage tradecraft. Cool already.
That's so good.
Used to pass items or information between two individuals via a secret location. By avoiding direct meetings, they can maintain operational security. So, pretty cool. That's pretty cool already. Very cool. We love a dead drop. Yeah. So, dead drop, the command that I built, it is not a package, communicates from your production environment to your local environment via an isolated like disk, basically. So like S3, R2, B2, something like that. So that's the idea of the dead drop, is that like the two code bases aren't actually talking to each other.
Right.
Production is putting a zip on an isolated disk, and then local can read that isolated disk and see if there are any zips there. So you can't actually, get into production or anything like that. So it's very, very safe. But the idea is
It's like a
in
dead drop.
production, just like
That's
a
the
dead
whole
drop.
point of a dead
That's
drop,
the
is so that
whole
they don't
point.
even see each other.
You
They
don't
they
even see
can't
each
talk.
other.
They don't pass each other.
You
One
walk
person
by the
drops off.
mailbox and see if somebody chalked an X, and if they did, then
That's
you
it.
grab what's in the mailbox and then you leave.
You don't even know who the other person is. Yes.
Don't even know.
Okay.
So dead drop, the Laravel command, what it does is in production, it will gather up some subset of your database. And so that could be problematic records, and you're like trying to pull them down and test why this certain situation is happening. Or it could just be data that you need to like, it could be like CMS like data, right? So you're in production and you're like, in our case, let me add all these videos. These videos belong to these modules. These modules belong to these courses. Let me upload thumbnails. Let me, yada, yada, yada. You're doing all this work. And then you get to your local environment and you're like, well, I kind of need all that data. Like, I need
Right.
all the course data so I
Right.
can design the course website. And so the dead drop command in production allows you to write, whatever queries you want using Eloquent. And then it'll go grab all of those records and put them into a zip file that it then puts onto this configured disk that the only purpose of that disk is to hand off these zip files. Then on your local machine, you can run dead drop load, and it will go look at that same disk and list out all the zip files. And you can say, I want to load this one into my local database. And then it'll pull that down, unzip it, run the migrations, and insert all the data. And so on the production side, there are hooks to like clean out, user emails and passwords and that
I
kind of
love
stuff.
this. This is the best part.
Then on the loading side, there are also hooks to like replace stuff. So let's say on production, you strip out all passwords, and then on local, you say, hey, anytime we're loading a user record from dead drop, set the password to password. And then like you can just log in as anybody. So that's what it does. A few clever things is, one, in production, it will run Laravel's schema dump. So you get a snapshot of the database as it is in production, the structure of the database, so that then when you load it locally, even if you have new migrations, it's going to recreate the production schema exactly, then load all of the cleaned production data, and then run whatever local migrations you have. So you don't end up in this situation where it's like, well, my local database is 3 migrations ahead, and now I can't load the dead drop data because it doesn't match anymore.
Yep.
So you can set this up to like generate a new drop every, overnight if you need to. I just run it manually because we don't, I just SSH in and run
Once
it
in a
manually and
while,
create a
yeah.
new one, and it just doesn't matter. So yeah, super cool. And maybe it should be a package, huh?
I think so. I think this is like something I've never seen a package for, and that like everybody needs at some point, right? Usually, anyway. And because even like when you do the seeding and stuff, it never is. You can never really get it quite right.
It's
Like
never
there's
quite
just
right.
always, and to even make it close to right is always very complicated.
Yep.
If you have an app that actually does anything kind of serious, and so yeah, sometimes the production data is just the way you need to look at things. But then, like you said, like that was the part that really struck me. I was like, oh man, but he's dumping the production. How's he? Now I'm reading through the thread. I was like, oh, he's figured that out. He's not dumping the production. And even like in terms of the private data and stuff. So yeah, clear out the passwords, clear out the emails, clear out the names. If you had other types of things, like I could imagine, like in my case, if I do it's like, well, we could like get rid of ticket history, and like we could use whatever that tool is called. I can't remember, Faker, to like, make just fake data in there or whatever. So, but you still have all the connections, which is always the part where you're usually messing with stuff anyway. It's like, all these relations are messed up or whatever. Blah. So yeah, that's all the stuff that's really hard to seed. So to have all that there, especially if you have a bunch of tables and stuff, like, be really cool. Yeah, I like that.
So this originally came from back when I was at the property tax firm. I built a version of this for us back then, because we would load all this county level data, right? So we're loading in, millions of records from these different counties of like, this house has this structure and these structures have these features and these features have these amenities. And so we've got like 6 levels of relationships. We have, 50 million houses because we've got it over 5 valuation years or whatever.
Yep.
And then you're trying to like test something locally. An agent will come to you and be like, hey, when I try to value this property against this property, something bad happens. And you're like, how am I even supposed to start with that?
Yeah.
And so I wrote this command where you could say like, all right, given an address, let's pull like all of the records within 1 mile of it. And then we'll download those. And so then you can run these valuation like tests basically locally without pulling down, 50 million records. You just pull down like 30,000 records in this zip file. And then you can test this stuff locally with all of the data that we've loaded in from our, third-party providers. So it's incredibly useful. And maybe with such a cool name, maybe it does deserve to be a package.
The name alone. Yeah, that was the other great thing that you have in there is like being able to just take a segment of the data. So if you are just using it for like, debug something, or even just as like, hey, we want to have this for certain testing types occasionally, it's like, well, don't pull down all 100 million records or whatever. Just give me 2 days worth because that's fine or whatever. And obviously you still need like there's business aspects to this, right? Of like who's allowed to do this and making sure it's secure
totally.
and all that stuff, whatever. Like that's up to you to figure out. But like, but yeah, in terms of your part of it, like I don't know, I feel like it could be I don't know, maybe nobody would want this, but I feel like this is the kind of thing that people just do it dumbly now, right? It's like, well, I'll just take a snapshot of the database. Now you have this whole snapshot of the database with all kinds of stuff in it that people shouldn't have on their hard drives, and like and and it's a big huge thing, and now you're trying to move 50 gigabytes
and you're like,
you're
I don't need all of this.
And so whereas if it's just a little more streamlined, it's more secure. It's not like people pretend they don't need this because it's insecure, but actually then they do need it, and they do it. They just do it in the insecure way when they actually have to do it. And whereas if you just planned for it and just had it set up, then you can just do it properly instead of doing it the bad way, which is what you're going to be forced to do at some point anyway. So yeah, I don't know. It's got such a good name. I mean, I hate to give you another open source package to maintain, though. That seems problematic, but
seems problematic. Yeah. It does seem problematic. Let's stay on open source and let's talk about Fusion.
Okay. What about it?
So here's where I'm at. I don't know if it's going to keep going.
Fusion. What? Remind me what Fusion is. Which one is Fusion?
Fusion's the Laracon EU one.
Yes. Okay, yes.
Come on, catch
too
up.
many of them.
Wake up.
Fusion.
I
didn't have a chance
he's already
to use
got
it,
Vegas
so
on the mind. He's barely even here.
I got Dead Drop on the mind. I'm like,
it's a good name. It's a great name.
Okay, so Fusion was the React connecting React and all on the PHP side. Well, you started Vue.
Yep.
Okay, so what's going on?
I feel torn, Ian.
Okay,
I feel torn. So let me.
You spent a lot of time on this.
Spent a long time on this.
A lot of effort, a lot of stress, a
lot of sleepless nights, a lot of stress. Released it at Laracon EU. The release went well. Seemed exciting.
Yep. Okay.
Reception, I think, was predominantly negative, just from like onlookers, right? From people being like, what the hell are we doing? We're reinventing whatever from
inertia,
2000.
Yeah. We've got Livewire.
Right. So from the looky-loos, reception was just massively negative, which I'm fine with. I don't mind looky-loos.
Sometimes that happens when you're
sometimes that happens.
New.
That's fine. I can convince myself that they just don't get it. I can get there easily.
Right.
From the people that I think matter, to me at least, reception has just been meh. Nobody's really asked about it. Nobody's like, hey, I really want to try this. It's nobody has pushed the ball forward at all in terms of interest.
Yep.
And this is, if you'll recall, this was I laid out a few scenarios before I released it. One was, I hope people either really hate it or really love it, but I hope nobody is like lukewarm. And I feel like people hate it and other people are lukewarm.
Right.
Yeah. So like the people on the internet hate it, which is fine. Again, don't super care about people on the internet, unless you're listening to the show, in which case I care about you deeply.
We love them. Yeah.
Love them. And then everyone else has just been kind of like, this is, Aaron's doing something weird again. And some people close to me really don't like it, which was surprising and a little bit hurtful. And
Okay.
so it's like, do I want to push forward on this thing that was already a huge amount of work, is a
Right.
huge amount of work?
Mm-hmm.
So I have a couple of thoughts. One
Yeah.
is, it seems like everyone is circling this idea. So this is going to happen one way or another. This like bringing the front end and back end closer together. Laravel just released Wayfinder, which I haven't really dug into, but seems spiritually similar to this, in that it unites the front end and back end a little more tightly. With this
Like
Wayfinder
TypeScript
feels,
stuff.
yeah, it feels a little more Ziggy to me, which I don't know if you've
That's
used
what I thought
Ziggy.
it was. Yeah,
Yeah.
I have. Yeah.
So it feels a little bit more Ziggy to me,
Right.
but with a little bit of like TypeScript, kind of niceties and stuff on top.
Mm-hmm.
So that is heading that direction. I saw somebody released something, I forget who it was or what it was, but it was very similar to like Wayfinder, Inertia, Fusion, all kind of like conglomerated together. So I feel like this is in the cultural zeitgeist of we need to tie the front end and back end closer together in Laravel land if we want to win over the JavaScript people, because they're used to
Mm-hmm.
a certain developer experience. That's fine.
Right.
So culture is headed this direction, so I don't feel like personally responsible to make it happen. The other thing is, I don't want to do a React version. Like
Mm.
I think it needs to be done. This is the
Right.
problem. I think it must absolutely be done.
Yeah. Mm.
I don't want to do it. And
Yeah.
what I'm seeing is I think I'm seeing a little bit of like and I felt this way many times before. I'm seeing web dev changing and leaving me behind a little bit,
Right.
which has
Yeah.
happened multiple times, and I've been fine, so I'm not like worried about that. But
Right.
um, it does seem anecdotally like everyone is moving away from Vue and to React in the Laravel ecosystem. That has been true in the broad ecosystem
Right.
for years,
Yeah.
forever.
Right.
But now, Cloud is written in React. Nuno's all on about React. I'm seeing even Steve Bauman, who's like my diehard Vue options guy. He's like, I guess I got to learn React now.
All right.
And everyone's going to TypeScript, and it's just like, guys, I don't want to do this. Like, I don't want
Right.
to. I don't want to play
Yeah.
this game. I have
Right.
zero interest. I'm excited for React Miami. I have zero interest in learning React and TypeScript. And I know
Yeah.
that makes me sound like a fuddy-duddy, but like,
Yeah.
I got stuff I got to do, and I don't want to futz around with React and TypeScript. I just want to build stuff with Vue and Laravel. So that's another thing. It's like, boy, I'm building in a space that is rapidly shrinking, and that is the Vue space. Even Evan Yu isn't focused on Vue.
Really?
Like,
What's he doing?
no,
He's
he's
a
on
bike guy
Vite.
now or whatever.
I think
Yeah.
Vite is like the all things to all
That's the big
frameworks, and so it's a
success,
much
right?
broader ecosystem.
Yeah.
And then he's got a whole developer tooling company, V0, I think. No, Void Zero. Y'all got to come up with better names. Void
Yeah.
Zero is a whole like developer tooling company.
Yeah.
And so I think Vue is just kind of like,
Yeah,
that was
it's
my
done.
implementation of my first thing, and now I'm building the underlying thing that's actually much bigger, and I don't super care about Vue. That may be an unfair
Yeah.
characterization, but it is an impression that is in the market. So whether or not it is true, I have seen many people say that this is true. Like,
Right.
Evan is moving on from Vue to Vite because React was one, and Vite is pretty important across the whole ecosystem.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I feel like I don't know what a good metaphor is. Maybe the soldier in Japan that didn't realize the war was over and he just kept fighting, for like 27 years.
Right. You're on some little island out there in the Pacific.
I'm on there
Yeah.
just fighting for the kingdom, and everybody's like, my brother, the war's been over for 2 decades.
Yeah.
So I feel a little bit silly there. What else? Is there anything else? I think that's mostly it. I think my feelings are, there are a few people that seem interested but not very interested. The majority of people didn't like it, and the vast majority of people don't care at all. And so I'm like, is this a good way to spend my limited time? And I think the answer is starting to lean towards no.
Yeah. I think that makes sense. I mean, I think you had a hypothesis, I would say, right? Which is that if you're hardcore PHP only, Laravel only, there's already Livewire. right?
Right.
And that's
Yep.
probably the best tool for that.
Correct.
And then if you're a React person and you want to get connected in more with the back end and Laravel, what's going on, like, what are you going to do?
Mm-hmm.
And so I think then there's two paths. And your hypothesis was they're going to kind of want to really dig in on the Laravel side and on the
Mm-hmm.
PHP side and get into that. But I think the reality might be that that's not true, and
It
that
might be, yeah.
the Laravel people want to bring the React people in more than the React people want to be in. You understand what I'm saying? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, forced
And so
adoption.
it's more like, okay, how do we make using a Laravel backend super easy for the React people so that they don't have to think about the backend because they don't want to think about the backend and they're still not thinking about the backend, right? So it's like, okay, let's have these
Mm-hmm.
Ziggy Wayfinder
Mm-hmm.
type things that let you connect and to the types are correct and whatever, blah. You're still probably gonna have some other developer build the backend, or maybe eventually you do it yourself and you're kind of doing the bare minimum, like just to have a back end, but you're not actually trying to do everything in the back. You're trying to do as little back end as possible, right? Like you're a React guy. You want to get into the back end, just a bare minimum to save some shit to the database. And that's
No,
kind
so
of
you can
it,
shovel
right?
off the request to Supabase is what you actually
Right,
want
right.
to do. You
Whatever,
don't even
yeah,
want to save stuff to
some
the
thin
database.
layer, right, between Superbase and your stuff. So now if that hadn't been the case, that like then I think your thing Fusion would make perfect sense as that in between thing, but maybe that's not the case if you're not seeing people interested in it, you know. And I think it's not totally fair now. On the other hand, is that really what this really requires to really know is for you to go to the mattresses for 2 years with it, right? And be like,
Exactly.
you're giving conference talks, you're at all the conferences talking about it, you're improving it, it's getting better, you're chipping away, you're at React Miami giving a talk about this thing, right? Like all that work to like convince people that this is the way you should be writing React apps and you should learn Laravel to do it. And look how powerful this is when you know both sides of this, and this tool makes it really easy and all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
So like
that's a change the world campaign.
Right. Which I think is what's required to convince people on that level, you know. And then maybe if like Laravel Inc. had adopted it and been like, yeah, this is like, we want to put our full backing behind it and we'll be the people who do that part, right? Like, that would be different too. But if that's not going to happen, then you being the person who does that, feels like that might not be worth a couple of years of your time.
Doesn't
Like, I
seem
don't
worth
know
a
what the
couple years.
payoff is for you on the other end of that necessarily, right? Because like, I mean, we know a lot of people with big open source packages and they spend all their time being like, how am I going to make money off this big open source package, right? So like, if the goal is to become
and then they live in fear
wealthy,
of other big open source packages.
Right, yes.
It's just a fear-based existence.
It's entirely fear. And you know, if you
you're
want to terraform,
constantly out there fighting for your share of the market.
Yeah. I mean, we've talked to, obviously, like, people are taking your open source thing and doing some commercial thing off of it, and that's totally legal, right? And all this stuff. So like, you're constantly battling, which, I mean, listen, I think you would be very good at that. I think it's actually in your wheelhouse to do such a thing. I think you could be on YouTube, right? And like, giving talks, and like, so I think you would do an awesome job with it, but I don't know if you should do an awesome job with it right now for this.
Right. Is that the best use of those skills?
Right. And just the flat out time, you know, is this I guess I am a little more on the side of like, I don't think the React people really want to write PHP. And so if that's true, then I definitely think this is not a good thing to do it with, right? Now, maybe that's not true. Maybe you can convince them it's not true and all that kind of stuff. But there might be other open source things in the future you want to do. It's like you only have so much time, right? And so if you put 2 years into this and it actually turns out to not be the thing, and you're not total diehard believer in it, if you're not willing to go to the mattresses for it, right? Because you totally believe that this is definitely the best way and everybody should be doing it this way, then probably it's not a good use of your time, right? Because there's going to be other opportunities that you miss because you're doing this and all that kind of stuff. And I also don't think it ties in super great with like your courses, at least as they currently stand. So it's not like, I'm going to make this my platform to just be content to sell courses on, because you're not doing a bunch of React courses, right? And all that stuff. And you don't even have the Laravel course yet and all that. So yeah. So it doesn't hook in with the commercial side
vectors aren't
now.
aligned.
I think that's probably true.
Yeah, I think that's right. And I think part of the realization recently is I'm becoming very tired of web dev Twitter and the web dev culture. Like, I've had to go through and do a fresh round of mutes because I'm just like, I don't care about this actually. And I think that's like a realization about myself is I don't really want to fight the good fight on
Yeah.
this is how you should build apps. That's like, turns out I don't want to convince people about that. Don't want to talk to them about that. Don't want to do that.
Because you are becoming business Aaron Francis.
I think I am.
Business Aaron Francis wants to figure out how I can use these tools
I think
to
so.
increase my income.
Yep.
And there's not a lot of space in that for like, let me, have a holy war with
No.
web dev Twitter about
No.
the best way that they should all be building their product. Like, that's a whole energy
No.
drain and battle that's going to be hours in nasty Reddits with people calling you a dickhead and like all this stuff, right?
Fighting
like,
on Twitter with framework maintainers
right,
that I
like all
actually
this
don't want to
stuff.
interact with at all.
Yeah. And
telling me why signals are good or bad, and I'm like, what are signals? Like, that's the kind of stuff where it's like everybody has an opinion on whether, fine-grained reactivity or like zero sync engines, and I'm like, guys, I don't care. I don't care. So maybe I'm not the right guy to do this.
That's the thing. In terms of business, Aaron Francis, it doesn't matter because it's like, hey, HubSpot still has PHP 4 code in it. Okay. Like, and we've been updating, actually last year, we've updated a lot of stuff, but like there's still chunks of it that are definitely much older style PHP. And guess what? It doesn't matter at all. It's totally fine. Like nobody cares in least bit. People pay the money and they're like, great, it does the thing we want to do. Doesn't matter at all. So it's like, if your identity is wrapped up in all that kind of stuff, then it matters to you a lot. And you're like, oh, it's all got to be squeaky clean and perfect. But that's if you want to be in the different place, which is I want a successful business, then all those things mean a lot less. And it's like, what
that's
am I
all I
do?
care about. And in terms of this part of my life, all I care about is having a successful business. Like,
so I did this idea.
I did a YouTube video unrelated to Fusion or anything. I did a YouTube video, I think maybe Thursday, Friday. Somebody commented yesterday, PHP is dead, bro. And I just I just kind of reflected for a second. And of course I responded something snarky, but I reflected for a second and was like, I just really don't care. Like, I just really don't care to like try to tell this guy that PHP is not dead.
Yeah.
And so I battled with him for a second and was like, all right, well, you're anonymous, so I don't have to take anything you say seriously because I have no idea who you are. But it just made me think, like, I am so happy just hanging out with the people that like PHP and like Laravel, and we can all just talk about how awesome it is and how much we love it. And I'm so happy to go and like be on podcasts and go to conferences and like be the PHP guy and be like, I love Laravel and I'm happy to tell you why. But I like being on the internet and trying to actually convince other people, like get in little debates with people, versus being on the internet and just talking about the thing that I like, which is Laravel. Those are very different things. Trying to convince someone that they should like Laravel versus here's all the reasons I like Laravel. Those are totally different things.
Totally different.
I don't want to do one of those. I want to do the other.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And I just think there's only so much time, there's only so much energy, even if anything you can kill. It's like, I've been doing that. Right? It's like anything you can kill off, it's just lowers the cycles, even if it's just floating out there, right? And because it's like the bug reports build up and new Laravel versions come out, like everything just constantly adding, every extra package you have, every extra product you have, all these things, they're all add to the stress and the time and all the stuff. And and sometimes this is what we do as founders, though, is like I've gone off and built other products in these last 20 years several times, and none of them have been very successful. But then you shut it down or you sell it off, and you keep going. And it makes you realize, oh, the main thing I do is actually like, that's the thing that's profitable and worth working on. But sometimes you have to need the mental detour of like, I'm going to go over here for 4 months and like do this other thing. But then you come back and you're like, oh, the main thing I have is working and that's kind of cool and people like it and they pay me money for it. And the other thing was very, hypothetical,
cathartic,
and cathartic, and like
you do come back with higher clarity. That is sure. And that's a good thing. That is a good thing. And I will say, part of the process of exploration is learning that you're going to throw a lot of it away, and like that has to be okay. I will say, for me, the hard part is the guilt. I just feel guilty. I'm like,
Mm.
oh man, this is so embarrassing. I can't believe I like did this thing and now I'm not gonna do this thing.
Yeah.
And I can go and stand up on stage all day long and talk about you got to put stuff out there. If it doesn't work, that's fine. Keep
Right.
going. But then when it's me, I'm like, man, I remember how much this sucks. I hate doing
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
So that's the
Yeah.
hard part for me is like, what are people gonna think? I feel so guilty. I feel ashamed, but it's, got to practice what you preach and just move on. Keep going.
Yeah.
Just got to kill
Yeah.
it.
I think that feels like the right thing. And if somebody wants to take it over, that's fine, of course, and all those kind of things. But like, yeah, I mean, obviously,
I'm
you should
much
think
more
is
excited about solo, the CLI stuff that you hate, than I am
right.
about fusion.
Yeah.
Because there it's like, it's almost like preaching to the true believers. It's like,
Right.
I'm not trying to win anybody
Yeah.
over. I'm giving people that I know something that I think will make their lives better. I'm not trying to convince somebody to join our tribe,
Well, yeah, it's just a useful tool, right? And I feel like you have some other things like that. Was it like Sidecar or whatever I forget the
Sidecar.
name of all your things?
It's a
But
great
like,
name.
that's a good name. But it's like, here's a tool. It's useful. It's kind of very standard open source stuff. Hey, I'm busy. When I get around to
Yeah.
updating it, I update it.
Yeah.
But I'm not making a big commitment to you necessarily. I'm not like, there's just a difference where it's like, hey, write your entire front end in
Build
this
your
thing.
whole
Yeah.
application on top
There's
of
a
this
certain
thing
level of
that I
commitment
sort of care about.
you're implying there. And that's why you have resistance too, right? Is because people are like, like, first of all, I can't even try
Totally.
it. How do I even try it? Like, I have to build a new app to try it effectively.
Totally.
I know you said that there's some ways to use it, whatever. But like, the reality is you have to build a new app to try this thing. And so right there, it's like, I only do that so often, so I can't even try it. Then, okay, I'm going to go out of my way to try to use it. Well, then I have to get learned up on it. Has it been updated recently? Oh, it doesn't look like he's worked on it in 2 months. That's giving me bad vibes. So I'm not even going to try it.
2 months?
Right?
Oh, it's dead. Yeah.
Right, it's dead. So like you have to be like,
break.
oh, you want to see 3 days, right? 2 days, today, 12 hours ago. Like that's what it needs to be, right? If you want to build this into this is a thing that everybody uses. And I just think, oh, man, I feel like stressed just talking about it. It feels like so much work.
Imagine how I feel stressed and guilty. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think like if you're gonna kill it off, killing it sooner is definitely better. Like,
yeah,
because why do stretch it out for 6 months and all that, and it's just going to be, then there will be some more real users, and then that makes it even harder, and you're not really into it.
I
hate
like disappointing people, Ian.
Yeah, I know.
I'm reading a book on stoicism.
I love stoicism.
I know.
Big fan.
Apparently, so does Taylor. So I'm reading this book.
I'm
also reading a book. I forget by who. The Courage to Be Disliked. It's very interesting.
Okay. Nice. Interesting. Well, that's probably up your alley there.
Trying to shed some of my I care about what other people think of me. But this is a big part of it. Don't want to let people down.
Listen, there is a reason why I've been around the open source community now for a long time, and I don't really have any public packages. Like, because I don't want any public packages. Because I don't want to deal with anything we've just talked about. Like, I don't want people depending on me. I don't want people being like, why didn't you do this? I don't want people being like, you're an asshole. Like, I don't want to deal with any of that. I just want to stay in my nice little world where nobody ever calls me names, and I sell them things for money, and it's great. And I can contribute to open source in other ways. I'll help run a conference. I'll have this podcast that we talk about open source stuff on a lot. Like, I'm happy to do all those things, but I do not want to be the maintainer of an open source product. And that's very deliberate, because it's too much. It's too much stress. It's too much overhead. It's awesome that people do it. Definitely not for me. So
you might be right on this one, business dad. You might be right.
I think there's a middle ground. I think especially for you, like, it's great content, right? You need things to talk about, but I think it's just like right sizing that whole element of things. Because when it's these other tools that are just when it's a useful tool package, there's not that many people calling you an asshole, because they're like people who want to use it and get enjoyment out of it are using it. Everybody else is ignoring it. Great. That's perfect. You're not like shoving it in people's faces, right? You're not going on podcasts being like, you got to change everything you're doing. You're an idiot if you don't do it, and creating all this stuff. It's like, no, you're just putting stuff out there. People like it. They don't like it, whatever. You like it. That's all that kind of matters. And you can talk about it and all that stuff. So yeah,
we may have an answer here.
There we go. It might be. Well, you'll have to update us, but I think that makes sense. I think it makes sense what you're talking about here, and it might be time to set it loose. Let it go.
We gave it the old college try.
Yep.
That's what I'm always on about, and I don't think this one worked, and that's okay.
Yeah, that is okay. It was cool.
It
People
was
got
cool.
to follow you streaming while you built parts of it at the
Yeah, it's
end there
fun.
anyway, and
Gave a good
got to
conference
talk out of it.
talk. Yeah.
Yeah.
Bunch of interesting code is out there. I did some very
Yeah.
interesting things.
You never know. That might be useful. Some of that stuff
It
at
might be.
some point. Who
Yep.
knows? Yeah. So you learn stuff.
Live and learn. Well,
Live and
there you
learn.
go. There's the real insight on the show for you. This
There
is
it
the
is.
real stuff.
All right, let's do another round of ads. You got to pay the bills.
Pay the bills. I got somebody at the house charging me hourly. I gotta pay. All right. This week's episode, another new sponsor. 2 new sponsors. So I got the new sponsor
love it.
corner. This is great. All right. Native PHP for mobile. Turn your Laravel project into a native mobile app ready for the App Store in minutes with native PHP for mobile. Check out nativephp.com/mobile. And this is honest to goodness iOS and Android applications built with Laravel. We can talk about that later. The other sponsor, big sponsor, friend of the show, Laracon 2025. I will be emceeing this conference, so please come. Laracon is calling all web artisans. Come to Denver, ready to level up. Leave, ready to ship. We must ship. And they've given us a short link, Ian. We got to talk about the short link, but they've given us a short link, which is very good for trackability. Very hard to say on the air. So y'all please check the show notes. But for Laracon 2025, please visit lrvl.co/mostly. Ooh, it's crazy, man.
We might have to work with them on that a little bit.
We're going to have to work on the short link. So thank you to Native PHP and Laracon for sponsoring the show.
We'll both be there. So come on out.
We'll both be there. And there may or may not be a mostly technical event happening. We'll see.
There may be. We're working on something.
See.
We'll see if it happens.
Keep your eyes peeled, because there may be a little mostly technical thing y'all can RSVP to at some point soon.
At the very least, there's going to be loads of stickers. There's going to be us. You
Loads
can come
of
say
stickers.
hi. And we'll be happy to meet all the listeners for sure. I love when the listeners come say hi. That's always really cool to meet
Yes,
listeners
very
in person.
fun.
Is one of my favorite things. So
And
definitely
you
say
know
hi.
what? Tying it all together, the Native PHP crew will be at Laracon, so it's just going to be a big sponsor fest. So come see everybody at Laracon 2025.
I don't have any time for it, but Native PHP is a thing that I think, like, if I had time, if I didn't have this business, or if I sold the business or something, like, that would be kind of a cool thing to dig into. I don't know.
Be
just
super cool.
Yeah, build some mobile apps, but not have to learn anything new. Seems kind of cool. So
see, there's somebody that was like, I'm gonna do it, and I'm just gonna. I think I want to go out and convince the world this is the way to do things.
But yes and no, because originally, I believe, I could have my history totally wrong, but I believe Marcel started it. And then Simon kind of took it over, or maybe they started together, and then Marcel kind of dropped off a little bit. And I think he's back involved a little bit. But there is a little bit of a, it got kicked off, and then one of the creators kind of pulled back.
It got kicked off, and then it kind of dipped for a while.
Yeah, so it's
then I feel like Simon has taken on lead on that.
Yeah,
so maybe,
but he definitely seems to want to, he's going to...
This is his thing.
He's going to fight the fight, yes. Simon is
this
on
is his
board
main
with,
thing, and I'm
going to make this happen. I'm going to make it a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and it
it's a
seems
perfect
to be
example.
working.
Like, that's what he's doing. He's literally paying money to help push it
to
forward,
make it
right?
a thing. Yeah.
Yes.
So yep, nativephp.com/mobile.
Perfect connection there.
Perfect connection.
All right.
We got anything else?
I got my, last week we talked about my reorganizing my computer.
Yeah.
All still going very well.
Okay.
Everything I said last week still applies, but I've had to make one change, which I had to drop Safari.
I would think so. Tell me more.
I was very disappointed. I was liking Safari. Safari itself was fine. I thought maybe it would be like the extension situation, but that was fine. Had all the extensions I needed. I was very surprised the root cause of why I had to drop it, which is its performance is often poor. And I remember it being like, that was one of its benefits, was like it rendered faster than Chrome a lot of the times. But yeah, quite a few websites like where it would just hang and do weird stuff, and Chrome doesn't really have any of those issues anymore. Pretty rare. So
what did you go back to Chrome?
Yeah, I just went back to Chrome. For a while before this, I'd been on Arc, which I do like, but also has some weirdness and stuff. So now I'm just back on pure Chrome.
It's hard to beat the incumbent. It really is.
It really is. Yeah, they've made it very good.
Steve was asking me, he was like, how does Ian do dev tools in Safari? Because Safari's dev tools suck. And I was like, I actually don't know.
Well, so this was the other thing. This was sort of a medium reason. at first I was like, that was one of my other things. I was like, well, dev tools is like, I know it's not as good and maybe that's going to be a huge problem. So I poked around on it a little bit in the beginning and it was fine. I was obviously it's not as good, but it was fine. And then I have been doing more with dev tools in the past couple days. And it is like, it's like stupid stuff. Like you refresh the screen and like if you're in dev tools, like it doesn't bring you back to the element that you were on before the refresh, which is usually what you want to do because like you change
Yeah,
something and you want to be on the same element. So there was some stuff like that that was getting to me too. So yeah, the dev tools, I don't know if that would have pushed me over the edge because my dev tool usage is kind of like, I'm not programming every day. So it's like,
that's what I told Steve. I was
yeah,
like, I don't know
yeah.
how much he's dev tooling. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah, so I am in there, but it's not like, oh, every single day I'm in here, and so it's like abusive and if it's like not optimal, I probably live with it, or I could just fire up Chrome for when I'm doing that kind of thing where I really need optimal dev tools, whatever, no big deal. But so that wouldn't be on its own the cause, but that was another negative. But the main cause is just like I'm on sites and things are slow, and like well, I can't have things are slow. Like, things are slow is like a total deal breaker for me. So back to Chrome, going with a 2 browser Chrome setup where I have
Like different
signed into 2
profiles.
different profiles. Yeah.
Ah,
Which was one of the things, probably the best thing about Arc is that you could have multiple profiles, but in one window, basically,
yeah,
with 2 tabs that kind of went between the profiles. So that was nicer, I would say, than this 2 window situation. But right now I'm on the 2 window situation because I do kind of like being able to, some sites I'm logged into the same site with different
yeah.
profiles or
I can
whatever.
see
So it
that.
is nice to have the separate profiles. So yeah. So that's where I'm
Welcome
at. Nothing
back.
too exciting. But I'm back. I'm
Welcome
back on
home.
Chrome. But
There's
the
no
rest of
getting
it's
away.
good.
There's no getting away from it.
I know. It's roped you in.
Yep.
Apple, they have all the money in the world. Just what's going on there?
I don't know, but they're starting to slip. I'll be honest.
They are slipping a little bit.
I
Yeah.
think seen most clearly in their software quality.
Yeah.
Hardware is still just top notch, but their
Yeah.
software is just bad.
Yeah. I don't know if I go so far as to call it bad, but it feels like they have the resources to do the limited number of really important apps they do. Like they should be super high quality and they're not
Yes,
super high quality all
I
the
agree.
time, And
Yep.
so it's like that part is weird. That yeah, I don't know. It just feels possible. Like if I had trillions of dollars, I feel like I could build out a sufficient number of software
I
engineers
would
and
terraform so much
organization.
desert with trillions of dollars. Are you kidding me?
I just
I could
want Tim Cook
crush
to be
that.
like, come out and be like, you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna terraform the desert. That's what
Yeah,
we're
I'm
doing.
sick of this stuff. We're gonna terraform
Yeah.
Nevada. Like, yes, sign me up. I'm an Apple employee now.
Oh man, I would, working at Apple would be cool. Like, there's a couple companies I would like to work at. Apple would be one of them. Like, being part of the bigger thing, that would be kind of cool. Like, work at Apple.
I don't know. I
Don't
feel
wanna
like
work in an office.
you'd feel. I think you'd just be inside the Borg. Would just feel really like. I mean, Apple,
Yeah,
Google, Microsoft, all of those. It's just going to be bureaucracy.
yeah. But if they start me at a certain level, like I want to be up high enough where like I'm doing WWC, like I'm
Oh,
doing 5 minutes
sure.
on
I mean, I
the new
too would
thing.
love to be an executive at Apple. I
I don't
didn't
want to
understand that's
start.
what we were
Yeah,
talking
yeah,
about.
yeah.
Yeah.
Executive. Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be great. I would love that. Sign me up. That's awesome.
I don't want to be like a project lead inside the
No.
pages department or whatever.
No.
Oh man.
All
All right. What
right.
else you got? You got one more update, it looks like.
I got one more update. So, I was talking about digging a basement
Love
/
this idea.
digging a like an underground garage. And all my haters were saying you can't do it.
You can do anything with money.
Good call by the haters, I'll say.
No.
Turns out the haters were right on this
You're
one.
taking L's today, left and
I
right.
know.
What's going on?
I'm packing them all into one episode so we can get them over.
Oh, what's going on?
You know?
Why no? Why no? Why can't you dig out all under your house and build a garage? What could be wrong?
I can.
Okay.
I totally can. That's the thing. It comes back to is it worth my time / money?
Okay.
And I think in this case it is not. I think
Did you
it is
have a
not.
quote? Like, give us a little. We need some details here.
I did some
Did you just-
research.
Okay.
So I visited a few local websites that do it. I watched several YouTube videos. I talked to GPT Deep Research for a long time. And it's just terribly, terribly expensive, like $300, $400 a square foot. And potentially even more, depending on what kind of soil they find when they get down
break
there,
something,
or if they
whatever.
find no soil and find only stone.
Oh, yeah, that'd be a bummer.
And okay, so here's kind of the way it went down. I have been, we're in this house less than a year. I'm trying to figure out how are we gonna, how are we gonna make this a home for the next 15 years, right?
Right.
So I'm like, I gotta have a master plan. I need a master
Obviously.
plan.
Yeah.
Obviously gotta have a master plan. So I'm thinking, all right, well, maybe I'll dig out a garage, or maybe I'll build a garage. We have a garage, but it's very small, and
Okay.
it's open to the alley, which is open to a major road. And so it's like
Okay.
our driveway, alley, sidewalk, four, five, 6 lane road. And so it's just kind of like we're exposed to passersby, which is fine, but we would rather be like insulated and protected from the big scary city. You know
Hold
what I
on, I got
mean?
a question. Yeah,
All
I
right,
know
all
what
right.
you mean. An alley implies usually a space between two buildings, but it doesn't sound like there's like what is this alley? Is it a little road?
Down
Is
here in
it
Texas, no two buildings are next to each other.
well, that's
So
what I was thinking.
yeah,
So what's
that's
this
exactly
alley?
right. So the alley separates. It's basically like a frontage road or an on ramp, but for just our driveways. So like, there's the 5 lane. I don't remember how many lanes it is. I think it's maybe 4 lanes of big road behind our backyard.
Okay.
This is just like massive road, and then there's a sidewalk next to that road,
Okay.
surprisingly, and then there is an alley,
Okay.
and then all of the driveways on our street open out to that alley, and then you drive down the
Ah.
alley and then out to like the
Oh, that's
the
a weird
the
setup.
big road, basically. So you're not like pulling out onto a 4 or 5 lane road.
So I thought you had a cul-de-sac though.
That's the front of my house.
Okay.
So my
But
front
that's not where
door.
the driveways come off
No,
of.
no, no, no. So
Oh.
the front door opens to the cul-de-sac where all the children are
Okay.
blowing bubbles, right? The
Mhm.
the garage opens to a Dallas-sized thoroughfare, basically.
So there's like no reason for anyone to ever go down the cul-de-sac practically, other than I guess delivery people, like
Yep.
or guests if they're going to
Correct.
park in the cul-de-sac.
Our direct neighbor, their driveway opens to the cul-de-sac, but the other neighbors, none of them have driveways that open to the cul-de-sac.
Interesting.
So
Okay.
we just
All
have
right.
this one neighbor that's kind of on like the very beginning of the cul-de-sac, but they don't have alley frontage at all.
Right.
And so their driveway opens to the cul-de-sac, but everyone else opens to the alley.
Okay. All right. This is very strange. All right. So you got a garage, but it faces the alley.
Garage
You'd
faces
like
the alley,
a
and
more
there's no
private setup.
fence between. So there's a fence. Our yard is fenced in the
Okay.
back. Our yard is fenced
Well,
in,
that's good because you got
but
the
our
big road.
driveway
Okay.
is not.
Right.
And so the driveway is open to the alley, which is open to the big road.
Okay. What about fencing in
And
the driveway, doing the gate?
that's what we're going to do. So the fear is, Jennifer's in the driveway late at night unloading kids, and some passerby is walking on this big thoroughfare and walks into the driveway and is like, give me all your money.
Sure.
That's the
Yeah.
fear.
Okay.
So my thought was, okay, well, if we're going to like do something, let's build a master plan and figure out exactly what we want to do. And then we can do it step by step. But there was no step by step of let's build an
It's kind
underground
of all or
garage.
nothing.
Yeah. And so the sheer enormity of it began to overwhelm me, because it was
I
like,
think I'd move before I did that. Yeah.
I think so. That's where we landed.
Right.
So the sheer enormity of it is like, I need a master plan. The master plan is enormous. The master plan is too big. I can't do anything because
Right.
I have to do everything, which is a common failure pattern for me. Can't do anything because I have to do everything.
Mhm.
And then it's just like this loop forever of, okay, got to make a plan. Well, the plan's too big, can't do it. Oh, got to make a
Right.
plan, don't have a plan. And then just round and round we go.
Yeah.
So what I decided is, let's just take digging a garage off the table. What happens if we decide just, to be normal for once and say, we have a garage above ground where the humans live. What if we also lived on the surface above ground? So now the master plan is much simpler and much more mentally approachable because it's piecemealable. So now the master plan includes like, put a gate over the driveway. Oh, okay. That seems doable. That's
Right.
not a
That's
$250,000.
Right.
That's like $4,000. And maybe I'll
probably gonna be a little more than that, but still,
I'll do it myself. It'll be
yeah,
fine.
of course.
Maybe we replace the fence, and then we start doing some landscaping, and then we
Right.
start doing some, some gardening, and like, okay, well, that's a lot easier. I could do that. I could
Yeah.
bite off a piece of that every weekend instead of like,
Those are projects.
those are projects. That's not a
Yeah.
6-month excavation and foundation underpinning.
It's not a construction
No.
site. It's just
I don't need commercial engineers
no
to do
heavy
this part.
equipment.
No,
Yeah.
no, 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 no. I don't need a sign off from a licensed anyone. So
Right. I like this
feels
plan.
better. Feels like
Yeah.
a little bit like giving up the dream, but I don't think it probably would have been that much fun after about 2 days into digging. I think I would have been like, I've done
Yeah.
it again, haven't I?
This is so much risk. I don't know. Does your insurance cover if they like wreck half your house? Like, there's a
Oh,
lot of
that's a
stuff
good
there,
question. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, now, what about selling this house?
We just bought it.
People sell things they just buy.
No, no, no. This is a good house.
Okay.
It's a good
Because it
house.
seems like maybe you're a little iffy on the location now.
The location has always been a moderate concern. And the plan has always been to close us off from the large street somehow.
Yeah. Okay.
So this has always been in the plan. This is a very good house in a very good neighborhood, and I think.
Okay. So the neighborhood in general isn't bad or anything like
Oh
that.
no, the neighborhood is
Okay.
ideal.
Okay. Yeah. So it's just like truly rando situations you're kind of just hedging your bets on, not like
totally.
all the time there's weird people wandering around.
No, we haven't had a problem yet, and honestly, it's Dallas. Nobody walks, so it's fine.
Yeah.
No, the neighborhood is super ideal. The elementary school is in the neighborhood. It's full of young families. It's like super perfect. Best friends are building a house like 3 doors down, so it's like we're not going anywhere. And if we do, it'll be somewhere else in this neighborhood. And at that point, it's just like, oh, it's a lot of transaction costs, isn't it? Also, I don't have that much money. I can't afford another house right now. Are you kidding me?
Flipping it. Hey, if you make money on this house, you just redid it. It's going to be worth more than you bought it for.
No, so many transaction costs.
You love transactions.
I do love transactions, but not transaction costs.
You love holding multiple houses at the same time.
No.
You love all these things.
No. So the project list on the home front has become more approachable. And Ian, it's all a mental game. Everything's a mental game. And you just got to play the game right. And I think breaking it down into this approachable list has helped me mentally. Also, just releasing some of that fusion guilt helps me mentally. So we might be into a good place. We've been in some bad places. We might be into a good place.
Well, and we've talked about this on the show before, but as a person slightly older than you, with kids slightly older than you, I do think it's very, you are right on the precipice of the kids needing a lot of time. Like,
I know.
And where they can't just put them over here and then they stay there because they can't walk or they can barely walk or you can gate them in or whatever. And then they're going to want to do stuff. You have all this time suck is coming very, very quickly. And this is big projects, things that aren't giving you value in some way. Like these things, they just can't coexist. Like it's like impossible. So the more you can get rid of stuff that isn't adding and the more you can streamline things and the more you can make your projects achievable rather than like too far out there, I think you're just going to be in a much better place because it's just a lot of time. Like you are really right there where it's going to be a tremendous amount of time. And there's kind of no way around that unless you're going to give up on, aspects of that end of things, which I know you don't want to do, right? You want
I will
go to
not
the kids' soccer games. You don't want to be working on Fusion instead of being at the soccer game on Saturday.
Zero chance.
Whatever, right? Right.
Zero.
So that's reality. And there will be some of those times anyway, because you run your own business and it's like, well, we're shipping this course. It's got to be done by this date. I'm going to miss the soccer game because it has to happen. It literally has to happen for this thing. Okay, fine. But like, you want those decisions to be the ones that like I have no choice. Yeah. It's for the business. It's providing us the ability to do all the stuff we're doing. Okay, so I'm going to make this sacrifice, right? But like when you get into like sacrifices for optional things or things you're misguided on, or like that's all terrible. Then because you still have the required ones, but then you also have you've added on all these other ones that are time wasters. So,
but here's the other side of that. Here's the other side of that coin is I don't want to blunt my ambitions at all.
I know it's hard.
I don't want to just like aim lower. That is the hard part for me.
Yeah.
But I don't want to aim lower.
Right? Like it's like I do think you probably need to finalize some clarity there on like what the ambition is, because I do think you're a person who likes to build a lot of stuff. Like you like to build things, right? And you like to be involved in new things. But I think it's going to be super hard to square that circle as you have 4 kids getting older and they want you and need you and all this stuff, right? And financial commitments, all that stuff. It's like, you might just have to be like, listen, this is building this business and being the gosh darn best web development course creators in the whole world. maybe that's the ambition. And then that can be a more focused guiding light there, right? Versus
Yes.
like, when you get off on a side tangent and then it takes a lot of your time and then it doesn't pan out, like that pulls away from the family stuff, it pulls away from the business stuff. Potentially. Again, it's hard because sometimes it's awesome, right? And then
Sometimes it's
it can,
awesome.
yeah, it's hard to know. But I think it's like you've already started working on this, right? Like percentage of the time that goes
Yep.
towards new things, picking new things that don't require, oh, if I do this, it's going to be 3 years of nonstop like evangelizing it, right? Like that's going to be a hard thing for you to take on. But if it's like, hey, this is a side thing and how it turns out is like it's a business little side thing and I can hire people and they can run it, right? Like there's those kind of things. Or again, like open source really hard because like hiring somebody to run your open source stuff is just a pure money loser for the most
Yeah,
part,
totally.
and they're definitely not going to evangelize it. Like you can hire somebody to maintain it. You're probably not gonna be able to hire somebody to evangelize it. And so like, yeah, I think maybe just having like a new set of filters before you get off on a new thing, maybe just to see like where it fits in might be
Yeah.
a thing, but it's hard. Like I said, I've totally done this exact thing where I was like, I'm going to go build, a survey tool. And like, I go off and build it and it takes 6 months. And then we have a few customers, it kind of floats around and, never becomes like a big revenue source or anything like that. So it happens definitely. But
It does happen. It's painful learning experience.
right.
But I don't know. I think my instincts and filters are getting refined, which is good.
Yep.
But I don't want to lose the thing that's like, let's go do something crazy and see what happens. But I think choosing better or different or differently shaped crazy things to see what happens is probably the direction that I should go.
Yeah, just things that can do double duty because I feel like you could come up with so many cool, crazy things that are like related to your core business,
Right.
and that it's a course in a totally different style that's completely insane and nobody's ever done this. Great. Or
Right.
it's like,
And that's the stuff that I want to think about,
right, like that kind of stuff. Even the course platform you're building this course
Oh,
platform
that's
and you're
great.
probably gonna be able to pull content out of
It's
that and
great.
maybe you even sell it someday or whatever. Like, but it's tied in with like the mainline business and
Yeah.
like that all works together. It's not detracting too much from the mainline stuff. So yeah, I feel like that kind of stuff all works. But yeah, like things like the open source, pretty hard, I think. Or just
Excavation, pretty hard.
woodworking, excavation, like, woodworking for yourself as a break. Yes. Woodworking turned into a business, maybe gonna be hard to justify, like just things like that. Who knows? But
The continual death and rebirth of Aaron Francis.
yeah, well, it's all your first year as an entrepreneur, right? So it's gonna take you some time to like you're gonna make mistakes along the way. That's how
I
it
would rather
goes.
make mistakes of ambition than mistakes of sloth, you know?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
I'd rather
So
die trying than have never tried at all.
yeah, well, yeah. But you still yeah. Well, I don't know about the dying part. We don't
I
want
don't
you
want
to
to die
die.
at all,
Yeah, we don't want you to
but if we're
die
going to
trying.
die, I'd rather
We
die
want you to
trying.
realize you're on the path of death and maybe you need to get off that path before the death part. That's the thing.
That is the thing.
Yeah.
Don't
And
die,
don't die. And you gotta have other things you do. That's the thing. Like getting things in more the hobby zone. Like this has been a big thing for me. Like I do poker, I do photography. Like having some hobby zones can also be the place where you have some of that creativity
Yeah.
and newness where you can learn something new without it having to be a business or having to be something that even you have to justify to other people and things like that. You know what I
Well,
mean? Like,
having to justify to other people is
yeah.
exhausting.
Right,
I'm so
exactly.
tired.
So I think having those kind of things, which often get abandoned very quickly, because it's like, well, that's like an easy thing to get rid of because there's no time for it, right? It's like
Mm-hmm.
that's optional, but sometimes it makes more sense to ditch some of the work side stuff that's more tangential and keep the hobby, because it does give you a place to have different sorts of experiences, but without the weight of they must make money or yeah, where people are going
So
to yell
I
at you on the
think
internet.
two thoughts. One is I don't super want hobbies. I just want to win. That's all I want. I just want to win.
That's why I do poker. Yeah.
But on the other hand, I think having a hobby that is also productive, I think is good for me. So I think designing and building parts of this backyard, whatever fence, garden, potentially pool someday, like just reading about Texas landscaping and
Right.
drawing out like, where would this go? Oh, well, this
Mhm.
seems like a bad idea. Let me do this time. And oh, let's go fix the fence. I can go do that. Those feel like that feels like it could be a hobby that still feels productive to me. Cause I don't
Yeah.
want to, I don't want like, I just gotta keep going, you
I
know?
I think that another way I would frame that perhaps is like, so that is actually more hobbyish, and it is still also obviously you're improving your home and you're adding to its value, you're adding to your enjoyment of it, and you're like into gardening, right? You're gardening. It's like it's more like gardening is your hobby, right? Like you
Yeah.
could frame it that way. Even I think if you were to read like biographies of successful people, that a lot of them do have hobbies. Like not all of them. Some people have been on the like I literally only work, but I do think a fair number of them have hobbies. Hobbies are important. I think this is a thing I'm kind of a believer in. Um, so yeah, but I think double dipping with that's still more, it's almost on the hobby end more than the productive end. It is like productive in terms of improving the house, but it is, like you're fidgeting around and you're learning stuff and you're improving and
That's
you're
what I just want to fidget, learn, and
dilly dally.
improve.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
literally all I want is to
Right.
make
But you're
make
not gonna
things.
make money. It's like with poker. I make money, but I don't do it for the money. It's like
Right.
I like the competition and I like the skill, and like these are the parts of it that I actually get enjoyment out of more than like the money is like kind of the scorecard of the enjoyment. Um and this kind of thing is the same thing. It's like, yes, your house is becoming more valuable, presumably, by doing this stuff. But if you just really get into it and like you're into all the different plants and you know all the different plants and you're into you're gonna make a path around here and like whatever. And like that's also just a way you could be out there digging a path and you're not going to be as much thinking about like all the stressful stuff and
Right.
whatever. It just gives you
Yes,
that like
exactly.
little reprieve from whatever it is you're working on for work or whatnot.
And
So
and this is a big thing I've been thinking about. I want my kids to see their dad working.
yeah, that's a
Like,
thing
and
I haven't done
it's
well, and
like
that's
I'm
a
on the
bummer.
computer
Yeah.
away from them. They've got no idea that dad works, and
Yeah.
I want to be like, hey, come outside and pretend, to help me dig this hole
Right, yeah.
because your dad is a worker, and I think that's a good
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah, and it's really hard when you work on the internet to
Yes.
pull those things in. That's where like the photography's been good on that front because it's like, hey, and we look at the pictures and we have
Mm-hmm.
printed books and like all this stuff. For much of my like kind of when I've been into photography, it's pictures of them. So now it's kind of cool because like here's look
That
at
is
the
cool.
stupid thing you were doing, but it's like an actually like almost professional level photo of them
Mm-hmm.
doing something cool instead of just like half point at the ceiling, like random picture. And so that's kind of cool. But yeah, it's hard. Like poker obviously doesn't play into that. There's like dad goes away and he plays poker and we don't know,
Mm-hmm.
what he's doing there. And yeah, work is like, yeah. Cause like, yeah, I'm just looking at the screen. You see me looking at the screen and you see the back of the screen, and that's kind of it. So I don't have a good solution for that one, but yeah, I think like that idea of working in the yard or other types, again, hobbies, woodworking for yourself. And it's like, hey, let's cut
Yeah,
up some
it's great.
boards and like build a thing or whatever, right? Like that's all cool stuff you
You
could
you
do
know a lot
together.
about woodworking. That is exactly how it goes. Yeah.
I did one woodworking project ever. Me and my middle kid built like a workbench for our garage, and that was so much fun. A couple weeks ago, I think I told Jamie I kind of want to do another woodworking project with
Cut
with
up some
him. Now
boards
he's a
and
little
build a
bigger.
thing, man. That's
Yeah,
it.
like
That's all you got
I
to
don't know
do.
what I want to build, but like the workbench is great, and we use it all the time. It's gotten so much use. That's like, oh man, we built that crazy, and people actually use it. Amazing.
It's a good feeling.
Yeah, it is a good feeling. So I think you're on the right track here, man. I'm excited.
We'll get
I'm
there.
excited for the Aaron Francis Empire
We
be
will get
along
there. It's
the wingman on the ride.
a series of fits and starts, but at some point someone will accuse me of just stumbling into success. That will be when I know I've made it.
There you go. Who is this guy? He just showed up one
Yeah,
day.
just showed up out of nowhere. Life must be easy for him, and then I will
Yeah.
just be so happy at that point.
I have it all documented. This is the beauty of the
It's
podcast.
all
You listen.
documented
Go listen to these 100 episodes
in the
from
gory
before I made it.
details. It's
Yeah.
all right here.
All right, man. Well, have a good trip. Say hi to Dax for me.
I
Tell him
will.
wish I was there.
I will.
Unless I find a way there, which is probably not going to happen, but I'm intrigued. But say hi to the crew. And yeah, and we will be recording next week. We'll be a day late, everybody. So day late, probably.
But not $1 short. It'll be
Not a
better than
dollar
ever.
short. Well, lots of stories to tell.
Yeah. Yeah. Hopefully all good ones.
All right. Follow us over there. Mostlytechnical.com has all the links to all the stuff you need, as well as to the sponsorship if you want to sponsor the show. Thanks for listening, everybody. We'll see you next week. Later.
See ya.